G'day guys, welcome to my channel. This is Simple Home Brew. My name's Pierre. I'm doing a Winexpert Cap Sav wine kit today. Hope you like it. So Winexpert has created a wine kit, which I've done before. It's Vintners Reserve grapes. It's a Cabernet Sauvignon wine. Basically, it's a beautiful little wine. It's even got oak pieces in it to give it that oak flavour as if it's been in an oak barrel. This is a 4 to 8 week process. So just so you know, today I'm just adding it into my fermenter and adding the bits I need to do to ferment it. The next steps are going to be for clearing and making it look spiffy. So the first thing I will have to do is actually sanitize all of my equipment. And with all my equipment, I need to make sure that everything is sanitized, like always. So I do that religiously. So it's one of those habits that you must get in when you're actually brewing. I have a brew bucket here of all the sanitizer already filled. I'll just tip this out. I've already sanitized everything that's around it, in it and about. I have a pot over here. You won't see it from where you're sitting. That's just so I can store my sanitizer in. It was a clean pot, now it's sanitized. With that, I pop the lid on and I'm going to put 2 cups of hot water, 500 ml of hot water in there. What that will do will actually give me the opportunity to dissolve my bentonite. And bentonite is a clearing agent, of course. It's another kind of clearing agent. It's actually, it's organic, so it's very, very different. I'm going to put the bentonite in, dissolve it in the hot water, and then we'll get back to you. This one has to be dissolved well so that it will mix with the brew and won't stick to the bottom of the actual fermenter. So just to warn you, I'm doing hot water in this. Now, I know this is not very heat proof, so I need 500 ml of pure hot water. Are you ready for it? It's going to crack. Ready? Hear it? I hope it doesn't break. So we quickly get the 500 ml, pour it out, and that's it. So it was cracking, but it didn't break. That's all I care for. So this is your bentonite. Now bentonite, I warn you, don't throw it in a clump. It will not dissolve. So you need to put it in the powder and stir as you go. So what we need to do, I hope you can see that, I know it's a little bit dark at the moment, is we need to pour the bentonite in here, but we do it like you do when you're cooking. When you're cooking mixing milk so you don't get curdling, this is similar. So you just pour your bentonite in and stir it as you pour, but don't stir too quickly. Don't pour too quickly. And that way it'll dissolve evenly in your brew, in your water. So I've done this before, and it's like a clay. So as soon as it gets wet, it solidifies. So don't be in a hurry to get it done quick. And that's working nice and fine, as you can probably see, hopefully. So I learnt not to see, it's collagging. That's what I didn't want to happen. But I don't think it actually affects it too much. And I probably didn't go slow enough. It's doing the job. So it says in the packet, just mix it until it's dissolved, which is what I'll do. But I don't know how well it's going to dissolve. Because, I'll just keep doing it until it looks good for me. All right, that's good enough for me. Okay, I'll just pop this out of the way. That's dissolved. Now it's time to get this little package ready. If you can see this, there's a little tag here, which you can actually use for a pourer. But first, I'll take out what I need. So these are all the little additions you need to get in the future. And I'll show you how they all work as I go through this brew process. So with this, we need to open up the box, find the little nozzle, which is that, close the lid, Now they've got little areas where you can pull this nozzle through. So tear them off and use it because it will make it so much easier for you to pour. Pop off the little handle here. Just get yourself all set up. It'll definitely be a benefit to you in the future as you go. So what I'll do is I'll pop the handle through here. Shove it down the bottom. That way we have something to use to pour it with. So now I'll pop off the cap. And there's our brew inside. It's ready to pour. It smells like grapes. That's exactly what we want it to smell like. So it is a bit easier to handle like this because now I haven't got a brew that's going to tip out and pour all over my lap. This is something I never realised before when I was doing this. So there's our bentonite, all ready to go, still dissolved nicely. Thought it quickly did it. It's still hot. The water is still quite hot, but that's what we want. And you can see the bentonite's looking pretty good. So I'll pop that, pour this beautiful little fella straight in. Be careful, it'll stain you, I promise, it'll stain you badly. And once we've done this, we have to top this up to 23 litres with just clean water. Luckily, with wine, it's not as vital, the water's not as vital as it is with beer. It's not susceptible to bad flavours and all that stuff, so this works quite well. So what I do is I actually top my bag up with water again, and I'll rinse it out with cold water to fill it, to top it right up to the top. So that's my wine extract or concentrate. Pour it in. I'll just put the lid over so nothing can get in there. And I'll come back, I'll fill this up again, and I'll come back and pour the rest in. I've topped my bag up to pretty much rinse out the bag with pure cold water. You can see there's still a little bit of wine in there. And now I'm going to top my fermenter up to about, it'll go to about 20 litres. So what I've done is I've just rinsed out my bag. So we're at, that's 20, 23 is there. So we're at 21.5 litres. The next step before putting the lid on permanently is to add the oak chips. It says in the kit system, if you have 2 bags of oak chips, put them both in now and stir. So that's what I'll do, just rip the bag open, pour them in, just like that. Make sure they're all in there. We're looking at 30 grams each, so it's about 60 grams of oak chips. And I'll just get my sanitised stirring stick. It's got sanitizer all over it. And stir these oak chips in. Make sure that they're stirred right in and they'll get soaked with the wine and the water. I'll grate some water at the moment, it's not wine yet. Oop. So that's now pretty much stirred in with, mixed with bentonite and oak chips. Those oak chips will add to the flavour to give it a barrel flavour. Don't know if it's brilliant, but it's always a very nice flavoured wine and I really enjoy it. Okay, I'll just top up my fermenter with what I've got left in this kettle to 23 litres, which is about there. Nope. There. We are now at 23 litres, ready to go for the yeast. Stirred in my oak chips. All I need to do now is tear off my yeast. And look, I will spray sanitizer on just in case. And this yeast just gets sprinkled on top. And we've got to leave it for 14 days. So So now my lid is ready. My yeast is placed. You don't stir it apparently. You just leave it on top and it will drift down to the bottom. Seal my lid on, just like that. So now I'll place my airlock full of sanitizer in my hole, just to make sure that we don't get bacteria feeding back into the brew. Push it down as tight as possible, pop the lid on, and we'll leave it sit for 14 days. One thing I forgot to do, guys, I have to open it up again. I have to take a gravity reading. So with my sanitized siphon or wine feed, I will quickly grab this, pop it open. It is sanitized, so it's clean. And I'll just quickly steal some wine out of there and place it in my... All right, guys, this will show you how much wine I have. You probably can't see it there. How much wine, how much sugar is in my wine. It's supposed to read about 1090. We're at 1080. 1090 is actually exactly what they said. 1090. I'll just get some air out of that. Spin it. We are pretty much, yep, 1090 on the noggin. So there you go. 1.09. I'm going to taste it. Oh, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. We're going to leave this sitting here over in the corner for 14 days. After 14 days, I'm going to check the level again. It should read... And it says 10.005 for a couple of days. I'll then whack it into the secondary to clear it out. Once it's cleared out, then we can bottle it, but we've still got to make sure we degas it. So we'll be back in 14 days. Okay, it's been 14 days. No, actually it's been 25 days since you saw that last piece. Now I'm going to grab a sample, check the gravity, and then rack it to my carboy, which is sanitized, and then degas the carboy as well as add some chemicals, which I'll show you in a minute, to finish off for the next step. Okay, stand by. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a sample, make sure that it has actually finished and gone to its 9.9666 or 996 gravity reading. So hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. This is just like a wine thief. It's actually the siphon, which reminds me I'm going to need the rest of it. Anyway, so I'm going to crack this lid open. I don't know if you can see this. I might just tilt you a little. There you go. We'll open her up and you can have a look and see what it looks like inside. As you can see, I've tilted this fermenter forward so that the sediment actually moves forward a little bit in the actual fermenter so that there's not as much this end, so I can actually get the maximum amount of wine I can out of it. This is fully sanitized. As you saw, I just pulled it out of the sanitizer. I'm going to grab a sample and just pour it in here. I'll pour that in until it starts to float. So I'll fast forward this. You don't have to see me do this. There we go. Now it's lifted off. I'll leave that in there because we're going to use it anyway, so it can stay in. So we'll check the gravity. It's really hard to see because it's flopping around everywhere. But we're at, it has finished fermenting. It is definitely, as you can see there, that's the 1000 or 1.000, not 1000. And now, you probably can't see what I'm doing there, but I'll just let that sit. We're looking at 9, can't get that to sit straight. What's that? 9246 9006. It's well under, so it's well and truly within the fermentation stage. Now I won't throw this back in, mainly because I don't want to risk getting this contaminated. So that will now go into outside. Just pour it in the garden. And I didn't want to taste that because it means that I have to age it first before the flavour. So it's going to taste like more yeast, more vinegary or something like it. So I didn't want to risk that. I'll do that. I'll get back to you guys and I'll show you how I do the siphoning process into my carboy. This is my carboy, fully sanitised. I've just finished sanitising. It's got a little bit of sanitizer in it, which is fine. Keeps it nice and clean anyway. I'm now going to take my siphon. I'll have to remove that, which is my thing. So now what we do is we take the siphon, slide it in here. This has got sanitizer on it as well. And I'll just do it so we don't want to get too much aeration going on. It doesn't really matter with wine that much. My siphon will start. You can probably see it. I'll take that off so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to push this in and you'll see it start immediately. Done. My siphon is now on its way. So while this is racking, I'll explain to you what's happening. We're going to pop in, after it's finished racking, we're going to pop in some potassium sorbate and some potassium metabisulfite. Basically that will help clear it out and kill any yeast or anything else that might be in there, as well as we're going to be degassing, so we'll get back to that as soon as I finish racking. Alright guys, so now the siphon has finished. I got delayed, so we got a little bit of sediment that went in there. Doesn't really matter, it will settle to the bottom. So I'll take my hose out, pop that in there. So as you can see, we've only got a little bit left. This is all the sediment that's left behind, so how about that? That wasn't too bad at all. So I'll pop that aside. Now my carboy, this big fella, is now full of wine. Someone told me that I needed to make sure my wine carboy was full. Now, I don't know how to get it any fuller than this. So this is 23 litres, this is 25 litre carboy. So anyway, I'm leaving that lid on for a second just to make sure nothing gets in there while I'm standing around talking. I am going to now put potassium metabisulfite in, as well as potassium sorbate in. Both of them help it to clear. I will stir it once I've done it to get the gas out, which is something I'll talk to you about in a minute. So just rip off the lid, pop the powder in. So these both go in at the same time, according to the instructions. So in goes the potassium metabisulfite, as well as the potassium sorbate. Both of these go in together. And what I've done is I've made myself a stirring stick. Can you see that? This stirring stick is just an old spoon. I've just put in a drill. That's going to stir it for the period of time that I need to stir it for, which they say if you're using a drill, I'll sanitize that, if you can see what I'm doing here. So if you're using a drill, 4 to 5 minutes agitating to get rid of any kind of gas. So 30 seconds one way, 30 seconds the other, and we'll do it for it. Last time I did this, it wore me out. I had to do it for 10 minutes by hand. I don't want to do that again. So all I'm doing is removing the gas that's built up from the yeast, which is carbon dioxide, which is what you get in beer. So I'm basically flattening it. So once I'm done, I'll get back to you guys. Okay, so what we're at is now, I've just finished stirring that. As you can see, all the foam's up there now. So basically what that is all the CO2 has come to the top and is actually kind of extracted from the wine. So now, all I have to do now, basically, is pop my airlock on so that my wine is protected from outside bacteria. Because I've degassed it, the gas is going to come up and push more gas out of the airlock through this carboy, and it should reduce the amount of oxygen that's in that barrier right here. I can't top this up anymore because I don't have any more wine to top it up with. So what I'm going to do now is let this sit for 24 hours, let all the protein settle to the bottom, Once that's done, I'll have to add Chitosan, it sounds Chinese, to help clear it even more. So we'll leave this sitting on the in the shed now for the next day, and I'll come back to it tomorrow and we'll add the extra bits we need to add to it. So we'll get back to you soon. All right, quick update. I have to do a Chitosan addition to this wine. It is now 24 hours after I added my Kaisersol and all the other bits and pieces. I will now pop this in. It says to just pop it in, quickly shake or manipulate the bottle, and leave it at that. And I'm going to leave it for another 14 days after I add this. So I'm going to show you what I've got here. So the sediment is settled at the bottom. It's starting to settle. It's looking like it's going to clear out my wine, which is awesome. It's doing its job. So now I'll quickly cut this bag open. Everything's slipping out of my fingers. It's not good. So I'll cut this bag open, just like that. Just to get a bit of a spout happening. And I'll pour this. I'll show you. Into here, I've actually loosened that already to let it go in. So this goes in now. So what I'll do now is I'll just give this a twirl, just for a few minutes, a few seconds, just to get the Chitosan around, make it just all at the top, and it will slowly make its way to the bottom, dragging more crap down with it. Give it 14 days, 2 weeks, and we'll see how it comes out, shall we? So it's been a couple of weeks now. It's time for bottling. Let's have a look, shall we? So we have our fermenter ready to go. The Cap Sab has pretty much finished fermenting, and it's also cleared out as much as I care to let it do it. And all I'm going to do now is pop it into my cleaned bottles. These are obviously used bottles from the manufacturer. I'll use these if I run out of my own bottles. I have cleaned them with a cleaner and sanitized them with Degassing. So they're fully sanitized and clean, as well as the lids. Just down in the bottle, in the esky here, we still have all of my bought bottles that I bought, and I've cleaned and sanitized each and every one of them, and they're ready to take wine. So what we have here is an auto siphon. The auto siphon usually has a little red bung at the end to actually space it out so that you can't suck in, or it's harder to suck in any of the dregs that are at the bottom of the bottle. I haven't got it. I can't seem to find it anywhere, so I'm going to do it without it. It might come out, the first couple of bottles may get a little bit of crap in it, but that's fine. You can still drink it. You can see here, I've taken a photo of it, all the sediment has flowed to the bottom, and I put a little bit of a spacer under the damage on the fermenter so that some of the sediment will move forward. So I've got a little bit of a gap at the back. This is where this is going to go, so it doesn't hopefully pick up too much sediment. So what I'll do is I'll start the process of siphoning. First off, what I'm going to need to do, put that back in its stuck. So what I've done is I've gotten a rubber glove, and I'm cutting the thumb off it. So with the thumb, I'm going to sanitize it, and I'm actually going to wrap it around. I'll show you. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing with one of these cameras. I'll take off the airlock, and I'm going to wrap the thumb around the opening like this. I hope this works. And what I intend for this to do is stop my siphon going too far in. Whoop. Well, that didn't work. Try again. It's only rubber, so it should work. I don't want any stupid comments, all right? Okay, my little rubber thumb's around there. I'm popping a cable tie on it. And remember, I sanitized this already. This cable tie will hopefully stop it slipping off. We can cut this off later with it. There you go. So that's nice and solid. So now my siphon can go in here, and I can prevent it from going too far in. So yes, that's it. So it's got a grip of it. I'm going to push it down until it gets close to the end. Actually, I might go down until it hits the end, like that, and then it comes up a little. one more time. Right, the siphon has begun. I don't want to waste too much of this precious wine. And I'm not sucking in too much sediment as well, which is great. I'm really happy with that. So now I can start filling my bottles. Now I'm going to show you just one bottle to show you how it works, and I'll continue to do all my bottles from there on, and I might do a little bit of a taste test at the end. So I'm going to show you guys, I've had this one sitting in the bottle because it's just better to leave it in the bottle. It's putting wine in there while it's sitting there, so I'm not losing it out in the middle of nowhere. So all I do, grab my wine bottle, push down on the hump so we get as minimal air flow, and if it wants to flow, very difficult. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I hate bottling. It's one of my worst jobs. If I can get someone else to do this, I'll be wrapped. So I just fill her up like this, and I'll speed this bit up so you don't have to see it. So I'll bring it up to the top, and I'll actually allow a bit more to go in to have it come out the top, close to the top of the actual bottle, so I don't have any air, or as minimal air as I can get in there. So that's now on the top of the bottle, like just like that. If you can see that, it's probably too close. With that, I'll just pop the lid on, and that's our bottle filled. Okay guys, this is just a preliminary check and taste. Glass is dirty, that's disgusting. Got it. This is basically what you would call the bottom of the barrel. I'm going to try it. It's not going to be aged enough, but it's going to give me an idea as to whether it's going to be tasty or not. So it's looking pretty good, fairly clear. I hope it's clear. It doesn't look too bad to me. I mean, if I can, it's red wine, so it's going to be tasty anyway. So we shall smell. Now I expect a yeasty smell. There isn't one. That's a bonus. So that tells me, oh, very nice, very nice. I can smell the wood chips in there. And of course the grapes that they've been using. My mouth is watering. It's going to be nice, I think. We shall taste. Wow, that is beautiful. That, trust me, we can drink now. That is just, well, you can tell it's new or new age. Another 4 weeks in the bottles, and that's going to be brilliant. There's no carbonation, which is I'm wrapped with. Oh, now I'm getting that aftertaste of grapes. Oh, it's almost like grape skins a little bit. Dryness. Alcohol's not bad. A little bit of sweetness. It is dry, which is what I like. That is a drinkable wine. That is beautiful. This is exactly what I've been after. Something that would taste really nice, and something that I can drink, at dinner. Maybe drink a bottle one every now and again. So I ended up with about 27 full bottles and 1 3/4 bottle or 2/3 bottle. I will drink this today, even though it's straight out of the fermenter, but it is very nice, just out of the fermenter. And it's still new, so we'll let it age, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you really enjoyed this video. I did a lot of work to try and make sure I showed every step that I did. And if you are following this video to try and learn how to do it, I apologize if I'm a bit rough. I'm only new at this, so enjoy. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and please subscribe. Press that little bell. That is vital that you do that, because you then will get a notification, and you also support the channel and say you love me. So we'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye. Bottom of the barrel.